My name is Gina, and I have a decision-making problem. Should I accept or reject a Facebook friend request? Instead of rushing to decide on the fly, I'm turning to Express Decision, a mobile web app, to help me make the best decision for my circumstances. A few months ago, I was hired for a position as an analyst in a mid-size marketing company. Here, I established friendly professional relations with my boss, Robert. As a side gig, I'm also an avid music show photographer and upload all my photos into Facebook, but they're only visible to my friends. My boss Robert recently came across some of the photos I had taken that were shared on others' pages. As a big music lover himself, he is interested to see more of my work. Robert has sent me a friend request, hoping that I will accept it so that he can view all my other photos. However, I'm concerned that if I accept his request, he will also gain access to all my other private information, along with some content that he might find inappropriate, and this could end up negatively affecting my career prospects. I'm trying to weigh the pros and cons of either accepting or rejecting Robert's friend request, and I wonder what I should do. I'm uncertain because I can't predict how a new friend's access to my account might impact my career prospects, especially if our friendly business relationship ends in the future. On one hand, I don't want to delete my boss's request for fear of risking my current business relationship. On the other hand, I don't want any personal information he could retrieve from my account to be used against me, in case our business relationship somehow deteriorates over time. The correct decision between accept and reject is very important to me, because it is directly tied to my professional growth and my career's future. My ultimate goal is striving for career growth. This is why I'm using Express Decision, since it will help me decide whether I should accept or reject my boss's friend request. But first, I need to name the problem and the available alternatives. The problem, friend request. Two alternatives, accept or reject. While accepting the request might strongly contribute to my career growth, since my boss also uses Facebook for business purposes, I think it would be seldom, since I rarely use Facebook and usually don't log in for days. At the same time, it's possible that my photography and private information could be used against me, if not now, then sometime down the line, and this could very strongly negatively impact my career prospects. I also don't like the idea of mixing work with pleasure. The evaluation of accept gives me a better idea of the potential consequences of accepting Robert's friend request. So now I'm ready to evaluate my second alternative, reject. If I reject the request and deny Robert access to my private account information, this might very weakly contribute to my career growth. All the same, I can't see any real cons to rejecting the request, apart from the potential consequence of a rift in friendly relations with Robert. Since evaluating alternative reject is very important to me, I want to simplify its evaluation. I'll split this problem into two subproblems, related to two possible and mutually exclusive hypothetical situations. The first is maintain, which assumes that Robert continues to maintain friendly relations after I reject his friend request. The second is refuse, which assumes that Robert will refuse to maintain friendly relations after I've rejected his friend request. I might be able to preserve my current business relationship with Robert, even after rejecting his friend request, since we both have a strong mutual interest in music, which would mean I have a relatively good chance to maintain strong positive prospects beneficial to my career growth. But I also realize that negative outcomes could occur not only from a falling out with my boss, but also from maintaining friendly relations with him. One of my friends once rejected her boss's invitation to attend a concert with him. Though outwardly, the boss seemed to remain on good terms with my friend, he was still inwardly upset with her rejection, which ultimately ended up negatively affecting her annual evaluation, although slightly. Even if Robert seemed to maintain friendly relations after my rejection of his request, there could still be a seldom, yet weak, negative impact on my career growth. I want to stay professional and maintain some distance with my boss, so I'll turn to the evaluation of the second hypothetical situation, refuse. If we were to abruptly end our friendly business relations, it might cause Robert to evaluate my professional abilities from a more objective and maybe even slightly unfavorable position. Additionally, my boss might have less of a justification to try advancing to a more personal level in our relationship, beyond what is acceptable professionally and comfortable for me. This means minor, yet very realistic prospects for future career growth. At the same time, I haven't discounted the likely possibility of an extremely negative impact on my career growth if I reject the friend request from Robert outright, and he subsequently ends up refusing to maintain friendly work relations with me. So, I'm going to click on Decide to see which of the two alternatives, accept or reject, is more preferable for me. Reject seems to be the better option, but I'm still unsure about its selection, so Express Decision suggests I either reevaluate alternative reject or add a new alternative. Initially, I was thinking to select reject since it seemed more preferable than alternative accept, but I'm going to reevaluate it by changing the potential for cons from extremely strong to very strong in the hypothesis refuse. Then, I click on Decide to get this pop-up. Even after this step, I still don't feel confident enough to make a motivated selection in favor of reject. Though I'm unable to make a motivated decision in favor of either alternative, accept or reject, I'm not going to terminate the decision-making process just yet, because the right choice is still important to me. Instead, I'm going to evaluate my third and final option. Wait and consider the friend request, alternative wait. I think that waiting and considering the friend request could strongly contribute to my career growth, since the cost of a mistake in case of an incorrect choice between accept and reject is relatively great. If anything, Robert might even forget about the request he sent altogether. On the other hand, this alternative can still cause tangible, yet seldom, negative effects, since my seeming laxity in responding to Robert could give him the impression that I'm similarly unreliable from a professional standpoint. Then, I click on Decide. There's a big plus to the uncertainty of waiting to either accept or reject my boss's friend request. This will put me in a more neutral position, allowing me to buy some time and better consider both sides of the situation, like different possible pros and cons of accepting versus rejecting Robert's friend request, especially as our business relationship further develops. So, I've decided that I'm content with waiting and considering Robert's request. With this alternative, wait, I gain more time to think and see how our business relations progress, so I'll need to save the results of my current analysis to return to them later. Okay, after waiting and thinking things through some more, I loaded my saved work from the cloud to continue with my decision making. I'm still considering the alternative reject, but I'm not sure if I want to go through with it. I think this might be because initially I was overestimating the negative effects of cutting ties with Robert on my career growth. In this case, I'm going to temporarily disable hypothesis refuse and reevaluate hypothesis refuse 1 to see if there are any different outcomes. Ultimately, I see that I had undue concerns about breaking off friendly relations with my boss and the severity of the potential yet very weak consequences on my career growth. So, I click on Decide to get the following pop-up. Alternative Wait is still my best choice, although alternatives Reject and Wait are almost indistinguishable in terms of which is better. In fact, even though Wait has more pros, it loses to alternative Reject in terms of its cons. This is a counterintuitive situation, but I've finally decided not to risk it by waiting with the friend request any longer. So, I opt to reject Robert's friend request. In this way, Express Decision has enabled Gina to make a well-thought-out decision closely aligned with her own values and preferences within the span of just a few minutes. Build a mental model to solve a decision-making problem by giving her an option that was the best fit for her circumstances. Better understand her goal by splitting the evaluation of alternative Reject into the evaluation of two hypothetical situations, maintaining or refusing friendly relations. Gina was able to pinpoint additional cons if her boss were to maintain friendly relations, as well as discover additional pros if her boss were to refuse maintaining friendly relations. Both of these insights help Gina better understand the ultimate goal, striving for continued career growth. Specify her criteria of success. At the outset of solving her problem, Gina had a specific criterion of success. In other words, she associated her career growth with maintaining friendly relations with her boss. While making a decision with Express Decision's help, Gina was forced to change this criterion, since she came to better understand the complexity of the association between friendly work relations and continued career growth. And finally, Express Decision allowed Gina not to rush into making a final decision that relies on her intuition alone.